Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. This is Sarah Crilley, guest hosting today for my dad, Jeff. He'll be back next weekend. And welcome, David Taylor. You are with Crudefunders.com and owning a piece of an oil well for as little as $1,000. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
And this should be a fun segment because, I don't know as much about oil and gas. So I'm absolutely fascinated about everything that you're about to tell me because I watched the Dallas show and it seems like that was about everything that it was. And had they known that you could own a piece of the oil well in that show, that would have been really interesting to talk about. That the future is here and it's now. And you can own a piece of an oil well from crowdfunding?
So crowdfunding is the platform. Texas had recently passed last year the opportunity to actually participate in a company. So you can actually have equity into a crowd-funded platform. So we took this and ran with it, and we created what was called Crudefunders, which is all about oil and gas and how we're all from Texas. We all know it exists, and we all know that most of the millionaires are created or sustain their wealth from oil, and it's just not an easy industry to get into. So what we try to do is kind of democratize it, allow anyone to put capital into this as long as they are from Texas, as long as the operation is in Texas. And we just thought, what a great way to see returns, have something tangible that you could see, touch, feel, and have the opportunity to make larger returns than you would potentially from a stock market or some sort of a personalized business that you funded through your family or friends. So this it's a very unique opportunity, and I think we've proven that the model works.
Very good. And how long has Crudefunders been around? And we do have a big update for the world here.
Absolutely. We've been around now for almost 2 years. We were the first company in the state of Texas to allow a non-accredited investor to participate into an oil and gas project. So
let's break down what the accredited and non-accredited investor is.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't know that. Even some of the smartest people I've ever met who have millions of dollars did not know that they were accredited. So an accredited investor is someone who makes over $200,000 a year or has over $1 million in assets that they are not including their home on. So that's what dictates between accredited and non-accredited is just someone who does not have that capital. It's a very unfair distinction that the SEC put onto investors, and we've come out to be able to maybe spread the opportunity around a little bit more.
There you go. So for all those non-accredited investors out there, you have the opportunity to own a piece of oil and gas. So give us a little bit of an update now. This has been the proven model here in Texas, not Dallas, Texas, all of Texas, and walk me through kind of what that looked like in the beginning.
Sure. What makes this opportunity very unique is at no time before could you actually generally solicit or advertise a security. It was against the law since the 1920s. And the United States had passed it's called the Jobs Act. It was based on a Title III securities exemption that just could never pass. They did not find a way to get all the rulings, and so instead of doing something about it, they left it sitting dormant. Well, Texas took this approach, and they created what's called an intrastate exemption. So they allow any Texan to invest into this as long as they're 18-year-old or older. They can put money into it and create a capital source. So we chose the oil and gas industry, and since its inception, we have over 3,000 investors. We have raised over $1 million in capital on the portal itself. We have put together many wells that have come in extremely successful, and it's been just a win after a win for our company. So as May 16th approaches, which is Monday, we will now be able to have projects all over the country. So the United States finally passed the crowdfunding opportunity, and the Jobs Act has actually come into fruition. So on May 16th is when our company will be in Washington, D.C. at the state capitol, meeting with congressional leaders, SEC, FINRA, and it is a monumental time for our company. So we can now go into Oklahoma, we can go into Louisiana, we can go into Pennsylvania, Balkan, up in North Dakota, and now we can take investors from all over the country as well.
That's huge news. My guest right now, David Taylor with Crudefunders.com, and your website's beautiful. It's very easy to navigate through, and I think it makes it pretty straightforward because education is key. Tell me about your company and educating the public on investing in oil.
So I think that was the most important part for us. Our founders, there was two of us, and we have a huge amount of expertise in our company, from geophysics to accounting to lawyers to investors, drillers, operators. We have a wealth of knowledge inside of the company. But what makes us special is our wanting to disrupt an industry that was really always kind of plagued with fraud or with issues with people not having the sciences behind them. So they would put a lot of money into something that they didn't think would work or didn't know it would work. So what we've done is given anyone who's never invested into oil and gas all of the information that they would need, from videos of why it works, the terminology of how it works, the sciences, the economics, the everything. And we put it all into one location so you don't have to go and scour. And we just try to make sure that anyone who comes on here can really take the education seriously and pick the right project for them.
Absolutely. And I know you can invest in real estate, you can invest in the stock market. Why oil?
Oil is probably one of the most safe bets for a crowdfunding model because typically, let's just say crowdfunding was designed to go out and help somebody fund a record or a book or a restaurant or something like that. Well, you don't know what the history is of that operator or that person. So you're funding it and you have a much better way of tracking your capital. But with us, we're creating projects with operators that have been doing this for 20 years or 15 years. And so we kind of de-risk some of the projects that go onto this. We make them pass a incredibly difficult triage. We make them go through all the processes. And if we feel it fits our criteria as a minimum, it'll go onto the site. And then the rest of it is up to the crowd. So we try to de-risk. Well, no one can ever completely de-risk it. But what we do is we give it a fighting chance when it goes on our site.
And you're doing those site visits as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we thoroughly background check all the operators. We make sure that there's a chain of title on every single one of these land pieces. We make sure that their operating history is substantial. They don't have as dry wells, no fraudulent activity through the SEC. I mean, we put these guys through the ringer, but they are the best operators out there. And so they come to us with a project that is turnkey, that it makes sense. There's no issues with class action lawsuits because people don't have a complete worry that something is going wrong. We are the voice for the operator. There is something spectacular here that both the operators and the investors love here.
Very, very good. Again, my guest right now, David Taylor with Crudefunders.com. And tell me more about Washington. This D.C. trip is coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming up Monday. We leave tomorrow, and we will be there for 3 days. We will be actually presenting. We are one of 9 companies in the entire world in crowdfunding that were actually invited to come to this project. It is one of the largest VC companies out there that put this on. So we'll be in front of 4 congressional leaders on one day. The person who wrote the bill will be with SEC, will be with FINRA, explaining the process, why it's safe for Americans. We actually have proven this model, and we want to show it off a little bit, and they have chosen us as one of those candidates.
Absolutely. So excited for you that you're going to be taking that trip.
We're super excited.
And so, again, back to these different opportunities. How many are on your website at one time? Do you have just one that you can invest in?
Well, currently there's no projects up on the site because when this transition from going from intrastate to interstate, we have decided because you can't do one or you can't do both at the same time. So we are moving to an interstate level. And what you'll typically see on a site is maybe something like a royalty play, which is, think of it like a bond or an issuance. So instead of making a 1% return on investment on a bond or a CD, you can be making 9% on one of our royalties, which is pretty much in the same consistency. There'll be other projects up there from drilling that are exploratory. There's going to be some that already have production that you're just buying into. There's going to be other things that could be a service company. We're huge in the sustainability side, so we actually have created water reclamation companies. We have worked with companies that do methane detection and all the different safety things, automation of wells. So it's not just about drilling oil, it's also about protecting the environment, making sure that the people who are doing this are doing it in economically viable opportunities. So if oil is low, it's actually the best time to invest. I mean, there's probably not
Tell me
a
more
better
about
time.
that.
Well, so with our projects, they're shallow, they're conventional, and so you can go into a project that might actually be profitable at $20 a barrel of oil. And if you're investing into larger companies such as Exxon or Shell, they're so expensive and they're so there's infrastructure so big that directly participating into a small well, you can actually have significantly higher returns. I mean, we've seen people get 20 to 50% returns.
Wow.
I mean, it's a very good business to be in if you just knew the information and knew how to get into a project. Well, we have brought that to the public and allowed them to make their own decisions, do their own due diligence, but we make it easy to digest.
Absolutely. And I've got the Dallas Junior Chamber that's going to be coming up in a little bit. Would you recommend, to millennials, what would you say to them on investing?
I think it's an important thing to understand as a millennial that we're here not only to create profit, but also to do something good for the environment. There's no chance that we're going to be weaned off of oil in the next 100 years. We love the ability for solar, for wind, for any type of new energy source to come in and complement. But let's be realistic. Even in a Tesla, which is one of my favorite cars in the world, it's electric. That's fantastic. But you have to have oils to make the plastic. You have to have the rubber. You have to have all the components that go in there, and that's all based on oil. So if we do this logically and we do it the right way, it's a great investment source, but it's also a pretty healthy and conscious opportunity as well.
What do you think about the Kevin?
Well, you know what? Honestly, on this subject, I have to admit, I kind of cheated a little bit. I have some inside info. I interviewed Bill Wimberly and Alan Fine yesterday about this, so I know a little bit about the DC event. And what I wanted to ask is, this is obviously something that's huge for Crudefunders. It's monumental, but what can this mean overall for the oil and gas industry?
Well, I think it's huge for the entire country because what we do is we decrease our energy dependence from overseas, because with all these turmoils and whatnot, if we can produce energy cheaply and efficiently here, it's absolutely the best thing that happens to us. So looking at it in a perspective of all these oil companies who can't find capital to drill, it's actually going to make prices go up at the pump. It's going to cause a lot of issues that are external that no one's going to realize that it hits their pocketbook. So if you invested into an oil project today, you don't cry when you go to the pump tomorrow and see that it's $3 because it offsets or it hedges your bet. So in my opinion, this is a huge opportunity for all of the Americans now, instead of it just being stuck in Texas where no one else could. Because we get people calling in from New York, Florida, and they beg to invest in our company. But we can't do that. But now we can starting May 16th.
Starting May 16th. And I think we just have a couple more minutes.
May 16th, sky's the limit, but we only have about 30 seconds left.
Another 30 seconds.
Well,
Gosh,
let me just put a couple caveats. So you can put in $1,000 as a minimum, but at certain income levels, you can only maximum put in $5,000 into a project. So it's a very safe bet for a lot of people who may not have had the capital before. So I look at it as the accredited investors can still invest with us. They can put up as much as they want, and we have large projects that are available for them. But we have very good projects for smaller investors that want to just dip their toe in the water.
Very good. David Taylor with crudefunders.com. I encourage everybody to go check out their website. Coming up, don't go away, Joseph Lynch is going to give us a story behind the story. Stick around.
More of The Jeff Crilley Show coming up.